Welcome back to Backward Point Podcast. My name is Nazar Sayed and I am your host today. My team is out of the World Cup, but I am still smiling because as soon as Pakistan got knocked out, Ed Sheeran and Passenger released the mighty song Let Her Go, reworked, and this is exactly what I needed in my life. As well as my brother and co-host here got tickets for Atif Aslam. And it kind of like those two depressing things just merged together and formed sort of a cathartic release for me. And that's why I'm here and able to do this podcast. With me, as always, is my co-host, my brother, and the producer of this podcast, Ahmed Bashar Sayed. Welcome.
Good to be here. Yo, Tere Bin yesterday hit different, bro.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see you still recovering from
It
that.
hit different.
Yeah, Tere Bin yesterday really, really hit different. I wasn't expecting that song on the set list. Not Atif's best show, but one to remember, judging the circumstances that had occurred before the game.
That's also why the podcast is sort of a day late. It should have been out yesterday, but we were so busy mourning the loss of Pakistan being officially eliminated. They were kind of already virtually eliminated before. And I want to talk about that. I want to talk about how us Pakistani fans, I'm not going to say myself because I had already considered Pakistan to be eliminated before this match even happened, because the task was so uphill, it was just not going to happen. And I feel like a lot of the fans were somehow still expecting Pakistan to beat England by like 270 runs.
Yeah, I'm guilty. I'm sorry. I was up at the...
You're part of the problem.
I'm part of the problem. I promised myself not to watch the game. And I told myself I'd sleep earlier. But then I found myself at 3 a.m., setting an alarm for waking up, checking the toss. And I was like on the Discord server with the people on it. And just disappointment right at the toss. And then still a part of me was like, maybe we'll get like an Indian bowling performance. We'll bowl them out for like 50, 55. Was not going to happen. Although we did have them... 2 straight maiden overs, if you don't count the wides that Haris Rauf bowled in his first over. Pretty much abysmal performance from there. I was still dumb enough to watch the whole first innings, but as soon as 313 or whatever, 331 was on the board, it was over.
This is very sad because Pakistan has now finished at number 5 on the points table. They would have still finished number 5 if they had won this match, but we're starting to realize that Pakistan is probably just a mid-tier team. Right, they are not up there with England, Australia, but not England this tournament, but just not up there with Australia, India, South Africa. They're just not good enough, and that's a hard thing for me to accept because just a few months ago we had been illusioned with Pakistan being the number 1 team, Babar being the number 1 ODI batsman, and now Shaheen being the number 1 ODI bowler. So my trust in ICC rankings has been lifted. I don't believe in that anymore. To me, what matters is the performances on ground, the performances in multi-nation tournaments, and just the Pakistani team. As a team, we've performed poorly. Like the 4 matches we've won, the 3 of them was against Bangladesh, Netherlands, and Sri Lanka. 2 of those teams which qualified through the Cricket World Cup qualifiers. The 1 game we won was through the individual brilliance of Fakhar Zaman. And just to be transparent, that was against a New Zealand team that was without Matt Henry, Lockie Ferguson, and a couple of their other key players. So it's very sad. Pakistan is now here. Just this game, we were assuming that we're going to win by a huge margin. And we didn't take into the fact that England is also here to play. And we need to first beat them rather than thinking of beating them with a massive margin. So disappointing match, another disappointing performance for Pakistan as a team, as a bowling unit, because scoring runs in Kolkata is very difficult. And for Pakistan to be conceding 337 here goes to show how poor our bowling has been this match, but also this whole tournament.
Yeah, I mean, I just want someone to give me a time machine and take me back to the time where, India was 66 for 4 in the Asia Cup, and just stop time there.
Life peaked there.
And let me live there. Yeah, let me just enjoy that moment where literally before the Asia Cup, I was under the impression, as many of our listeners, fans, and just fans of Pakistan cricket team they were under the assumption that this is going to be a clean chit Asia Cup win, which is going to build momentum for a pretty solid World Cup campaign. And eyes were opened. After the Asia Cup, a lot of things came into, like, a lot of spirits were broken, a lot of shoulders were broken. Wink, wink at Naseem Shah, and just a reality check so severe that people were literally missing their exes because they were like, she gave me a less strong reality check than the Pakistan cricket team gave me. And the only thing that sort of brought me solace during this tough time as a Pakistan cricket fan was the Discord server. Shout out to the Discord fam. They have been the ones who have been equally delulued with me. And I appreciate you guys and the community that we formed with almost 900 people there. It's one of the best, if not the best. The people there are all respectful, cricket fans from all over the world. We have some Indian fans, we have some Pakistani fans, English fans, Bengali fans. So that's like something that I appreciate, the one positive thing that came out of this tournament. The other thing, I've seen a lot of a lot of praise for A Sports' The Pavilion, and I'm just waiting for our flowers, guys. When are we tweeting in favor of Backward Point being the best podcast on YouTube? Come on, guys, you guys can do better than that. The other thing that kind of upset me about this whole campaign was that apart from that South Africa game, Pakistan really didn't give a fight. I know people are like listening to this and hoping that we talk about the England-Pakistan game, but there's nothing to talk about.
By the way,
what do we talk about?
We have no notes for this podcast. Typically, I have notes. I have stats that we want to go through, but I wouldn't say I haven't come prepared, but I want this to be more free flowing.
No, I'll tell you honestly, I have not seen that game. I have not seen the Pakistani batting for that game yet.
Bro, you missed Wasim Junior's batting.
I was following on Cricket Info, but I was like, there's
Harness
no point.
scored 35.
I heard. Good for him. That's what 5% of the runs he's conceded in this entire World Cup. Wow. So, good on you, Rufi, but that's not cutting it. A lot of things were sort of, we're gonna have a proper, like, thought out performance
postmortem.
Postmortem of the whole thing after the World Cup. There's still 3 very, very important games left. Semi-final review, a final review, and then the inevitable congratulations to India podcast, which is on its way. I've already made notes for it, so it's about time, I guess. But just looking back at the scorecard for the England and Pakistan game, there wasn't really any fight from anywhere. I'm just shocked at what Shadab Khan has become. The marquee player, the platinum player for Pakistan in white ball, just complete no-show. It's like if Shahid Afridi was just like not there in the 2011 World Cup. This guy was supposed to be the front runner for the captaincy gig after Babar. And right now, he shouldn't even be in the ODI squad. And that's the reality check that we've gotten. What's also, inevitable that was going to happen, we knew this was, in the works. I was on Twitter yesterday. There's a Shan Masood agenda rising. Safi agenda always there. Imad Wasim Ahmed agenda, this peaking at the right time.
Shaheen and T20's agenda.
Yeah, Shaheen and the T20's agenda, anti-Babar agenda, some political rivalry going on as well. It's just like a very shitty time to be a Pakistani cricket fan. And I'm scared that it's sort of reminding me and giving me PTSD of that 2013 to 19 era. And I'm scared. Like, I'm genuinely scared and fearful of reliving that time because I don't think I'm ready for that.
We have Yusuf from the Patreon, and he mentioned something similar. He says, I feel really disappointed. I feel like a return to the dark 2013 to 2019 days.
Exactly.
Where we did bad in nearly every ICC tournament. Post 2021, I really started believing in this team again. So he also has a question. Should I bring it up?
Sure, go ahead.
He says, my question is, given Pakistan don't play any ODIs for the next year and we play barely any until the Champions Trophy, shall we accept Pakistan will always be an average ODI squad and an above average T20 squad? Just a quick comment on that is, ever since the 2011 World Cup, we definitely have been an average ODI team, barring the 2017 Champions Trophy win. Look at every single tournament we've played in. I don't think we've even finished top 4 in any of them. like starting from the 2013 Champions Trophy, 2015 ODI World Cup, 2018 Asia Cup, 2019 ODI World Cup, and then the last Asia Cup and this World Cup. So we've barely finished in the top 2 in the Asia Cups. We haven't finished in the top 4 of the ICC events for ODIs. So we definitely have been an average ODI team. I don't know if we should blame the influx of T20s because of that, or just the lack of the fact that our players are not prioritizing first class and list A cricket. They think if they play T20s and the more leagues they sign up with will help them adapt to ODIs, which is definitely not the case. And the results of Pakistan team are showing the same thing. And I want to just bring up Saurav Ganguly here. He mentioned in the interview to A Sports that India has a robust domestic circuit where players are playing 4-day cricket, 5-day cricket, list A cricket. There's also individual leagues of each state. So they're playing cricket all year round. And the focus is on the long form. T20s is there. The IPL is there for players to ensure that they are financially secure. But the focus has always been on the long form.
That's true. And you can see that with the bench strength that the Indian team has, just the vigor that they have, the talent set is there. They're one of the best teams in the world. And their win today against Netherlands just proves it. It solidifies it. They've been unbeaten in this group stage, 9 out of 9 wins. Like, amazing performance, got to hand it to them. And, the Pakistan Cricket Board and the whole subcontinent cricket board can learn from them, because the Sri Lankan Cricket Board just got suspended, and the Bangladesh Cricket Board is in shambles. The Pakistan Cricket Board is completely ripped out of all reality. They're on their own stratosphere right now. And I'm just waiting for that next stupid, shameless, completely incoherent statement release that's coming out. It's inevitable in the next few days. As soon as the Pakistan team lands, there's going to be, they're going to start axing people, and there is a conversation to be had about Babar Azam as captain. Do we keep him? Do we not keep him? Who's next? There's an Australia series coming. I would be surprised if Pakistan draws any of those test matches. Take that as a win. As situation is right now, we don't have your 3 primary bowlers to go with. You cannot go with the Wasim. You cannot go with the Haris. You cannot keep taking Shaheen. You probably have to, but when are we gonna test our bench strength? We have none. We have no batsmen that can go out there and hold their own in 2 to 3 sessions against the amazing 3-pronged or 4-pronged bowling attack that is the Australian bowling attack. So lots of questions have been left unanswered in this World Cup, and even more have been sprouted up for Pakistan. The 2 World Cup campaigns that have been disastrous, Pakistan and England, it's just an unmitigated train wreck. I've been closely following the English team, and I don't know what happened there. Even Nasir Hussain and Athers were just we don't know what's going on. This is the team that we would have picked for 10 out of 10 times. The 15-man squad, the 10 that we would have picked were in this 15-man squad. So we don't get it. And this is the same sentiment that I echo for them for the Pakistani team, which is the 15-man squad that we have. I would have picked at least 8 to 9 of the same people. Would you have picked anyone different?
So that's an interesting question. I think what I would have done, not just with a short term looking at this 15-man squad, I would have zoomed out a year ago and I would have said, let me give Abrar Ahmed a try. Let me try out Shahnawaz Tahani in a few ODIs as a backup bowler. Let me give an opportunity to Imad Wasim and see what my options look like for a combination. But that was something that Babar should have done a year and a half in advance. I would have played my B team against New Zealand's B team, just so we can have that added bench strength capability. And that's what every other team does. India sends their B team to Ireland. If Zimbabwe is coming to India, they're playing their B team or C team even. So we were not able to do that. We kept playing our A-list players against Netherlands, against a B and C team, New Zealand's side. And ultimately, we suffered the consequences because when we did see our players get struck with injuries, we had nobody to fall back on. Just that Naseem Shah injury, I understand he's one of our key bowlers, but just this past World Cup, New Zealand was without Matt Henry for a few games and they did perfectly fine. India was without Hardik Pandya and they're still winning matches, right? Mitchell Marsh left the team for a couple of games, came back, and they still kept winning Australia. So how is it like we lose one player and it's like chaos? It's we're all in shambles.
Everything hits the fan.
You have to bring back Hassan Ali, who on the pretext of that horrendous podcast with Daniel Al-Sheikh.
Yeah, I feel like that Daniel Sheikh podcast wasn't as bad, but in context, retrospectively, hindsight, it's such a bitter taste in everyone's mouth, especially that tagline, that King Karlega, Bobsy the King,
Terrible.
It would have been such a good like Hollywood story even if Pakistan had gone on to win this World Cup. That tagline would have been meant something completely else. That it would have been up as one of those, 1 minute down, next minute up, Shaheen Afridi, they cannot play him. People would have that on the shirts. Bobsy King Karlega or King Karne Kar Liya or something like that. It's just one of those things that wrong timing, wrong place, and just wrong context for everything. Because the biggest no-show of this World Cup, if it's not Shaheen Afridi, if it's not the bowling attack of Pakistan, it's Babar Azam. And we definitely have to do a deep dive on his performance, on his tenure as captain so far. It's been 3 years. I think May 2020 was when he took over as captain. And it's been 3.5 years. It's going to be 4 by the time, if he continues over to the Australian tour and the World Cup next. It's going to be 4 years. And he has currently nothing to show for, apart from some individual brilliances, apart from breaking the India curse. It's just been in big tournaments. There has to be a conversation had about his performances in big tournaments because it's alarming. And I don't want Babar Azam to be one of the greatest of all time in Pakistan's history, which is still not a high benchmark, Bashar. I don't want him to be a Yunus Khan. I don't want him to be a Mohammad Yusuf, where 2006 Mohammad Yusuf scores 1,700 runs, but he doesn't have any trophies to back it up. He doesn't have anything to back it up for, Bashar. Same thing with Yunus Khan. Yunus Khan won you the 2009 World Cup, but it was brilliances from Umar Gul, brilliances from Shahid Afridi and Saeed Ajmal who actually got you that World Cup in 2009. And he's a good test player, but again, any remarkable test series against Australia, England, we don't have those milestones for those players to back them up. And it's sad because, Aqib Javed had moments of brilliances in his tenure, and declines and all that. Everything that a normal player goes through was through Aqib Jaber's lens, but he's one of the greatest of all time because he has the 92 silverware. And you can't say the same about all the other players. And it's sad, but I don't want Babar Azam to go down as one of those players, because if he does, it'll be the biggest wasted potential of all time that Pakistan has ever seen. People talk about the what ifs about Amir and Asif, and what would have happened if they hadn't sold out, blah blah blah. This is going to be worse than that if there is no silverware backing up Babar's performances.
Babar Azam walked into this tournament as the number 1 ODI batsman, and he finishes number 23 in terms of the top run scores of the World Cup.
26.
23.
Are you sure?
Yep.
I read a stat that it was 26, but okay, please continue.
And the sad part is, or the shocking stat amongst that, is that he has one of the lowest strike rates of the top 23 batsmen. Only 450s in the 9 matches. As the number 1 ODI batsman, you would expect Babar Azam to notch up a couple of hundreds to single-handedly win Pakistan matches. At least 1 or 2 of those matches amongst the 9, but he has no match-winning performances to show in this World Cup. I don't know if this should be credited to the pressure on him as a captain. He mentions himself in a press conference that the captaincy pressure is not getting to him. It's just his batting is a different compartment in his brain versus his captaincy. But we've seen the past few multi-nation tournaments that Babar Azam's performances have been below par. They're not up to what Babar Azam's standards have been set by himself.
So what happened in 2021 in the T20 World Cup then? What was different?
I guess those were easier conditions, if I'm being transparent. Pakistan won most of their games while chasing, and chasing in the UAE is the way to go, and that's sort of why you won the game against India 152. Chasing, it's pretty easy. And that's also why you lost the game against Australia 176. They were chasing. When you're chasing, there's a due factor. The ball comes onto the bat a lot easier, which is why we saw Australia, despite the game being a bit tied up in the end, they won with about, I think, 2 hours to spare. So I don't want to take anything away from that win against India, but you were chasing in that match, and that's why you won in a one-sided affair. Virat Kohli has recently said that he accepts the fact that on that day, Pakistan's team outplayed them. That Shaheen spell, that Babar is one partnership, sort of took everything away from India, and they were eventually eliminated from that tournament. But just post that World Cup, I think as soon as more responsibility got to him, at the time we had a lot more experienced players in the team as well. Like we had a Sarfaraz on the bench, we had Malik and Hafiz playing alongside, we had Imad in the team. So just having those experienced guys advising you, giving you suggestions takes a bit of the toll out. Versus I think in this tournament or the past few tournaments, there's just been that lack of experience of international matches. Like Babar Azam had to literally listen to Iftikhar Ahmed in the game against South Africa, where he's on screen pointing out that the fact that Mohammad Nawaz should be bowling that last over. So yeah, I think just the pressure keeps mounting. PCB is renowned for ruining players, and Babar Azam I think was undercooked while he was given captaincy. I think he was only vice captain for a few series before he was actually announced as a captain. So he was definitely in the plans, but the plans came into fruition a lot earlier. Sarfaraz talk about the Safi agenda all the time, but he was ousted from captaincy and the team
Prematurely?
in a very bitter manner. That's not really how you treat your players, because you didn't really have Babar Azam ready. He was someone who was learning on the job, and I just don't think he's done a great job evolving as a captain, because he's making the same mistakes starting. And the one glaring one that keeps pointing out to me is the fact that he keeps giving Mohammad Nawaz the overs in the death overs. He believes Nawaz is his match winner. I want to talk to Babar personally, just ask him, like, what do you see in Nawaz that I'm failing to see? So a lack of evolution in Babar's captaincy, and it's costing us tournaments year over year. And there's another one coming in about 6 to 7 months here in the USA and Caribbean. So question marks as to if Babar Azam will lead the team then, because Pakistan is a funny place. You can one day be captain of all formats. The next day you can not only lose captaincy, but you can also lose your spot in the team.
Yeah, you're very well said, because we've seen that happen multiple times. 2011, 2011, Shahid Afridi was the captain of that World Cup in March, and in December when the team went over to play in India, he was not even in the 11. And that's just one of those things where, luck has to be on your side. You just have to be outperforming the critics. That's what it is. With the PCB is actually, the way it's set up, it's sort of against you. It's not with you. Boards like the BCCI and the ECB, they're there to facilitate the players, make sure they're doing well. PCB, they have their own agenda.
Conspiracy theory, but maybe PCB thought that if they give Babar Azam captaincy, if they put him under so much pressure, maybe his batting will decline, his captaincy will decline, and eventually they may be able to kick him out of the team. But Babar Azam being Babar Azam, his performance has actually improved statistically as a captain. Once he became captain, his batting stats sort of improved, his centuries improved, his strike rate improved, his average has never been better. But the question mark, again, is when it matters the most in multi-nation tournaments.
Which of the games that Pakistan lost affected you the most? South Africa?
South Africa was a tough one. Australia, 350 odd, 60 odd in Bengaluru, especially when you are in a position to chase it. That one hurt me the most, because according to backward point math, right, Pakistan had to win 6 matches out of the 9 and they go through. They had to definitely win the 4 matches against Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Netherlands, and Afghanistan. So already losing against Afghanistan puts you at a disadvantage. And I think if Pakistan had won those 4 games, and you had almost beaten South Africa, that would have been 5 wins, and then you beat New Zealand, so you're through.
Yeah.
But yeah, just not being good enough against Afghanistan, they outplayed you on the day.
What went wrong with England, do you think? And what happened in the game against Pakistan when they found their stride?
Pakistan,
But Pakistan has a knack of bringing out of form players back in form. So they're telling me that that's what happened. That's Pakistan cricket math.
yeah, Pakistan was like, hey, again, you guys are defending champions. We want to make sure you guys go out with the bang, with the win, just so we can help you boost your morale. We brought out a Ben Stokes, who seemed a bit out of form, back into form. We gave
David Woolley the sign off of a lifetime.
yeah, he had a wonderful game. He took 3 key wickets of Babar
And
Azam.
also scored 15 off 5 balls.
Yeah, he took the wickets of Fakhar Zaman, Abdullah Shafiq, and Agha Salman. So yeah, and he also had a great cameo. So Pakistan just gave too many opportunities to the England team. Pakistan's bowling has just been toothless. Their batting has been spineless. So once you have those two things, I think any team at the time could run you over. So no surprises that England was able to do that.
It was a very long time since I've seen 124 for 5 for Pakistan on the board. That's usually when Afridi would step in and give you a 10 ball 30 and then get out in a very stupid manner. And I felt like having flashbacks of that. Like I said, 2013-19 to 19, this cricket team. And it was shocking, heartbreaking, not surprising, I would say. There was something in that game, though. I don't know, Bashar, if you noticed that Babar Azam was like overly elated, and I feel like he knows something that we don't know. He was just happy. You know,
He's happy it's over.
He's happy it's over.
He's glad it happened. He's happy it's over.
The photo of him and Butler just hugging it out at toss. I'm like, what's going on here? You seem too chirpy for this, untimely exit, and time will tell us what exactly was happening there in that moment.
We have a few more comments from Patreon, which I would like to take in. I think it's something that goes with what you were saying about Babar being happy at the toss. Ali Bhai here from Patreon mentions that when I asked the patrons how they feel, they said, we'll be okay, I guess. I am more concerned about Babar, who is an asset and the only employee of the PCB that fulfills an international professional standard, whether by his performance in field or his attitude off field. I can't say this about anybody else in the PCB or even in the Pakistan media. He's had to put up with so much rubbish from everywhere, not least from his own board. So I feel he just needs to go on a self-diagnosed break to clear his mind, which doesn't mean he needs to leave his captaincy, but maybe just go on a sabbatical leave just to get away from the spotlight, to recharge. Sounds great. I hope he does that, and I'm sure he will. But the fact is, we are going to be in Australia the next few weeks.
4 weeks.
That's going to be a horrendous tour. Like, if you think you're depressed right now, wait till December.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's gonna take a miracle to get out of that one. And the way that it's come out, I mean, our test squad is a lot better, don't you think? Like, our batting has shown up. We have Saud Shakil in the middle order. Agha Salman is really good in the middle order. But are any of these batsmen equipped for Perth pitches where it's bouncing over your shoulders, and you got Stark at 145, Hazelwood, Cummins? You've also made Zampa into like a Shane Warne-esque bowler now. So like Zampa is going to be charging in.
He doesn't play test matches though.
Sorry?
He doesn't play test matches.
Who's the spinner in the test match? Swepson?
Swepson could be there. Yeah, I'm not sure. Lion is their fourth spinner. Like, he's their main spinner. Actually.
Great, 400 wickets for him already. Yeah. So it's going to be a tough one. I actually wanted to... Ali Khan has a really good question on the Patreon. And guys, again, I know I didn't give a shout out in the beginning, but if you guys want to be part of the Patreon, send in your questions through there and have, be participating into the podcast. Patreon links are down below. You actually get a special tag on our Discord servers as well. And I know people want to have that like red mark when they're chatting with the peeps just to rub it off. So that's how you can do it. Discord and Patreon links in the description below for both Spotify and YouTube. Ali Khan asks, this is going to be a loaded question, Bashar, so, bear with me. Both of you are now PCB co-chairmen, the Sayyids. What changes do you make in this team across all formats to make us winners again? Also, what do you do about the coaching setup?
There's a huge debate if Pakistan should have a local coach or foreign coach. When a foreign coach comes, we think local coaches are good. When a local coach comes, we think the foreign ones are good. So
one thing we can all agree on is Mickey Arthur has to go, right?
Well, yeah, I'm not in favor of. He's not even a coach. He's a director of cricket.
Why do we need that post?
Whatever the hell that means. Like what does his role even entail?
Because Rob Key is director of cricket for ECB, but he's director of cricket all over, grassroots cricket, domestic cricket, all of like that's his thing. So, what does Mickey Arthur's job actually entail?
I don't even think Mickey Arthur is fully invested in this Pakistan team because he has commitments with the Derbyshire County. He's sometimes in the LPL coaching there. I think he was part of the Karachi Kings of a few seasons. So we need somebody who is dedicated to the Pakistan team. The only issue I have with local coaches is we've oftentimes heard players talk about how local coaches forget to take off their Pakistan jersey when their Pakistan playing jersey when they're coming to coach. They come in with loaded egos and they're too busy thinking about their own stardom, their own fame, that they forget that they have a job at hand. So it's the same sort of criticism I had when Misbah and Yunus Khan were there. You talk about people coming through the right channels, through experience. It's the same thing, if you take a player from the streets and put them as a international player with no experience, the same thing would happen with Misbah and Yunus. It was their first ever coaching gig. And where is it? The Pakistan team. Why weren't they coaching with the franchises, with the domestic teams? Rahul Dravid came through the channels. He coached the Indian under-19 team. And then eventually he started coaching the Indian men's team. So I'm sort of divided on a foreign coach or a local coach. Whoever it is, just make sure they're professionals and they come in with a team that are also professionals. I loved the whole coaching era of Sakleen, Mohammad Yusuf. I felt like those guys were doing something different. Like they really brought in good values in the team. And that's what you need to sort of build a unit.
You're a firm believer of Qudrat ka Nizam, then I believe.
I am.
You're a big fan of that. I mean, I would do the same thing. If I was co-chairman, I would keep Babar as captain. I would let him run through the T20 World Cup and then talk about changes if there needs to be made changes. Definitely things to learn, overhauling the team. I don't know about that. Just definitely key players that I don't want to see in the green shirts for a while, if not ever again. Bring in new talent, start grooming people like Mohammad Haris, Abrad Ahmed, Saim Ayub. Even if you're looking at the T20 World Cup, bring in Azam Khan, just make sure that he's fit and available and making sure that he's fit to play for Pakistan. Maybe you don't give him the gloves, maybe you give him the gloves and don't give him the field positions, but there's ways to, there's enough bench strength, I believe, that you can use to come out of this. It just depends on how committed you are to the gig. And I don't think any of the PCB chairmen right now in the past 2 years have been committed to making sure that Pakistan cricket succeeds. And this is why we're in a position like this again. The Patreon was quite emotional. Mohsin Ahmed felt angry and disappointed. Shazi was embarrassed, ashamed, disappointed. We feel all those sentiments. This 2023 World Cup, a World Cup to forget for Pakistani cricket fans, a World Cup to forget for Babar Azam fans, a World Cup to forget for cricket fans in general, because England, Pakistan, even Afghanistan, they were the ones who were really gunning for it, and they just were below par. I'm just happy that, I think the 4 teams that actually deserved it went to the top 4. It's going to be a good clash between them, but I would be surprised if I don't see an England-Australia. I would be surprised if I don't see an India-Australia final, and I'd be very surprised if I don't see India taking it home.
Yeah,
what do you think?
I'm with you on this one. Pakistan actually finished at the same level as the Afghanistan team. They did have better net run rate than the Afghanistan team. But yeah, just looking ahead to the semis, I think it's going to be a few cracker of games. India, New Zealand in Mumbai, the Wankhede Stadium, South Africa versus Australia. So I'm looking forward to seeing what happens. I think I mentioned the last podcast. I do think India is going to win the World Cup, but I would love to see a South Africa versus New Zealand final.
Yeah.
I really want to see a new winner of this World Cup.
Definitely. So if you guys like Backward Point and you guys want us to talk about the remaining games, don't worry, we will be. Semifinal previews coming up very soon, probably tomorrow night. And then we have the reviews for both the semifinal games and the finals. So you guys want to hang out, like, subscribe. I've noticed that 56% of people who watch this don't even subscribe. And I'm looking at you right now. Subscribe, okay? Spotify gang, you guys are the real ones. Listening to us in their cars, in the gyms. Leave a review if you want to help the podcast grow, and just subscribe to the Patreon, help support the podcast, make sure that we're allowed to keep doing what we're doing. We're actually in the works of post World Cup upgrading equipment and upgrading just general look of the podcast, so that's coming very soon. We appreciate all your help, all your work that goes on, and we'll see you guys soon. I think that's a good way to wrap it up. Bashar?
Yeah, we'll be back with the previews of the semifinals, the reviews of the semifinals, a preview of the final, and a review of the final. And the big episode that's going to come up is the postmortem of the Pakistan team. I don't know how long that's going to be, but it's going to be one where it has to be a detailed analysis of what's happened to the Pakistan team.
And that's after the World Cup, right?
Well, we'll see. We'll see once we get an opportunity. But yeah, it'll be coming very soon. The next, I think, 1 week or so.
Got it. I can hear my baby cry, so I got that's cue for us to leave. Thank you guys very much for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next episode.
See ya.